what would your 7-year-old self and your 77-year-old self think of the adventure you're about to go on? 7-year-old me would have been like, oh, you're going to New York. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
You're seeing a new place. Cool. That's
Yeah.
really cool. 77-year-old me would be like, that was one of the best decisions you made in your career.
Yeah.
Well done. Hello, I'm Chris Lisserman and welcome to Sparks, a series by Interactive Workshops. In each episode, we talk about something we can spark in work and life. From how to spark decisions, to how to spark ideas, to how to spark an iced coffee. Oh, it's like a hot one, but it's ice cold, just as good.
I have actually moved the office ice machine from 6 to Unit 8 to get it closer to the coffee machine. And
It's
Mara
genius.
is actually making now, batch making iced coffee for us.
Is she?
Yeah.
We could freeze some of the coffee so that we've got iced coffee cubes, and then our iced coffee won't get watered down.
We could do that, Chris.
So just put coffee
That
in your
would be-
ice maker.
A taste adventure.
It would be a taste adventure, which is topical because we're going to be talking about adventure.
I love it.
I know, on a professional podcast,
I love it.
talking about adventure. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely love it.
I know you love adventure, and you're just waiting to get into this.
It's such a big topic.
Firstly, how are you?
I'm really all right. Yeah. I got up really early this morning
Did you?
with my 13-year-old son and we went for a run in the park
Oh,
at
that's
6
nice.
a.m. And
Did he want to, or was he dragged out?
Well, he's been watching Ted Lasso,
Okay.
and the main character is being woken up early in the morning to train 3 times a day so that he can become the best he can be. So having watched that the night before, I said, oh, son, if you want to meet me, I'm getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning so that we can be the best we can be. He was fully up for that. He leapt up out of bed.
Oh, wow. On an adventure.
Yeah, it was an adventure.
Yeah.
It was in the panacea of the park, the vista, the trees, the sunrise, the warmth, and that kind of dewy mist of the morning. It was a sensation.
Brilliant. Sounds great. Great fun.
It was really fun.
Good stuff. Well, that is just a snippet of an adventure we may be about to go on this podcast.
That was a micro adventure.
A micro adventure.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Is that a thing?
Yeah, apparently you can go on micro adventures. I mean, they used to call it a trip or a walk, but
Yeah.
now it's a micro adventure.
Micro adventure. Mini used to have the mini adventure as their slogan, didn't they?
That is a big cause of mini success in the UK. Yeah, the mini adventure. And a very great piece of branding related to society's thirst for adventures. Also, the car industry moved from fast to SUV, inferring off-road, due to society's love of adventure. Cycling moved from road to gravel biking
bikes, yeah.
for
Adventure.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of our huge shared values in society is the spirit of adventure, the thirst for adventure.
And yet, in professional contexts, maybe we don't want adventure because we want things to be more straightforward,
Yeah.
consistent.
So we channel this thirst for adventure into going to work, having a meeting, sending an email, doing an Excel spreadsheet,
Meeting a deadline.
and going home.
Yeah.
We destroy the things that we thirst for. And I guess what we're going to explore here is how we can live an adventurous work life.
So when you reflect on your work life so far, has that been an adventure?
Always.
Yeah?
And sometimes deliberately. I'll give you a short vignette from my discussions with my wonderful fiance when we were at the stage of thinking about getting married. Actually, I must have proposed. I proposed by then. But she pointed out that I'd quit 2 jobs already in my life without ever asking her. And that she knew that I was a wild, adventure-seeking man. And I think I am. And I've always been like that. I've always been excited by the outdoors, but also the emotional and intellectual adventures that we can have through the challenges that work sets in front of us.
So what does it mean to you, adventure? Is it a bit of fun? Is it more than that?
I think for me is to be truly challenged and to come into a moment where you have to rely on yourself, to push yourself, to get through something you don't know really if you can do it. Maybe you think you can do it. I mean, the classical outdoorsy type of adventure, you hope you can do it. I love the book by Ed Vistas, who talks about climbing Everest, saying getting to the summit is optional, but getting back down is mandatory, for example. And I like this kind of the thirst for adventure, the spirit of adventure, trying things we don't know if they can be done. For me, I guess that's what adventure is all about.
I like that, pushing beyond what you've done before to find that level of challenge where you hope, but you don't fully know whether you're going to achieve what you set out to do.
And human beings, we talk about stress as if it's a bad thing, but there's actually stress is it's like a bell curve, and at the far end of it is bad stress. But in the middle is what's called eustress. EU stress. It's nothing to do with the EU. Eustress.
Eustress.
But eustress is where we're suitably aroused from a biological point of view, stress, pressured, and stimulated, challenged, and that stress helps us to perform. Again, think about you go to the 100 meters Olympic final. That it gives you the edge. It gets the extra out, and we don't want to be living like that all the time because then we'll sort of burn out. But we do. It is good to wake up every day and be appropriately challenged. And obviously, as we grow in skills and capability, the level of that challenge should rise. And that is why a career or a work adventure, a work story should continuously grow and evolve.
Yeah. Okay. So thinking about that on the starting grid, if you were overstretched, if you weren't ready, if you hadn't prepared for your race, you'd be overstretched, overstressed.
Yeah.
If you were too chilled out, perhaps didn't rise to the occasion, you're at the other end of that bell curve. But there's a middle ground where under the right conditions, and an adventure can take us to that place of good stress.
Yeah, we should be challenged. And it doesn't mean necessarily challenged on a micro level. Some people's working life is like that every day. You work in casualty. Every day you got a myriad of difficult challenges, life and death. And every day can be extremely, I'm not going to say stressful, but challenging. Some days will be very stressful as well. But at the other end, you've got our old friend, Sharon in accounts, or Jeff working in purchasing, and the job isn't stimulating, it's not challenging, it's just administrative, and it's probably very noble and could be quite valuable. But each day is ticking past, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, and life is just flat. I think that's also why sometimes there's mental health challenges. Is sometimes it's because there's too much to do, and not enough support, but sometimes there's just not enough challenge, and they call it bore out actually. So you got burnout, but bore out is the
other end of the
other end. Yeah, where just
curve.
I actually worked once with a big Dutch bank, and they in the employment law it's very hard to get rid of people. And I worked with someone who, at the meeting, I asked them what they do, and he said, "I don't have a job here. They just can't get rid of me. So every day I come to work, I've got nothing to do." Like, can you imagine that? It's like what a torture. So they wouldn't let him go. They're not going to sack him. They're not going to fire him. Not make him redundant. But they don't want to give him a job to do because they don't believe enough in him. So he's just at the office every day with nothing to do.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think some people are at that level that there's not enough challenge in their work. Most people, it's probably the other way. It's too hard.
Yeah, so we've got those two types of people. One is understimulated. They're saying work isn't an adventure for me. There's just not that much challenge. Other people are saying work is not an adventure. It's just challenging.
Yeah, exactly. But the purpose for me behind trying to create a culture where adventures are embraced also relates to what companies are trying to do in terms of growing. So as we sometimes do, we can look at the macroeconomics. What shareholders really want is stable returns. They'd like to buy a share and know that this company is going to generate profit and be profitable every year. It's a safe bet. But that isn't necessarily that exciting or sexy. And if you do have a business like that, the only adventures you can have actually are where things come in that are bad. So if you're building a stable organization and everything's okay, then there's a recession. Then someone key leaves. Then your competitor brings out a product. So organizations' desire for stability is one part of what work is. We don't want to come to work every day thinking that our company might go bankrupt. But we don't also want to come to work every day thinking that nothing's ever going to change here. So I do think there's a role for companies that embrace the unexpected and leadership that embraces adventures. And also, obviously, great leaders, if you think of a bell curve of leaders are trying to outperform their peers to be good. And in order to do that, you've got to get your organization motoring faster than, growing better than your direct competitors. And in order to do that, hopefully you'll be embracing something that's new or innovative or exciting. And so I guess there's those kind of adventure-seeking leaders that are prepared to take their organizations places. And those kind of employees as well, team members, that want to put their hand up to take on an ambiguous, difficult task.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of people that help organizations build and grow for the future.
And I've seen the ways over the past years how you've taken adventures, met them full on, gone all in on particular adventures, like launching in New York, for example, is just one of them. You've obviously been doing this for a number of years before even I joined. Do you see that as an intentional part of weaving adventure in? Is that what you're saying, that these are some deliberate adventures you're going on?
I think it is. I think when I look at the tapestry of the whole year, some years we've had to have a year of consolidation because there's been so much going on. Let's not try to have any more adventures this year. Let's try and keep it. Let's just assimilate what we've learned, spend some more time with our partners, try and go home on time. And then other years, it's like, no, we need to have something going on here. Let's start this new product, or let's start this new geography, or let's have a growth phase. Let's push hard for this. So I do think, I think as a leader, you've got to consider the micro and the macro. And I guess we work in companies, we do have the opportunity to make decisions that set us down certain paths. And therefore, in our whole balance of leadership, we should be considering, is it time for me to set in place a new journey and a new adventure for this team or this individual? Is it time for Chris to be more challenged than he is today? Is he ready? Is it, as you know, I like to go just before he's ready. Is it something that he can own? Is it something he can take on? But that, as a manager, as a leader, you're thinking that across the whole team and the coherent adventure that you're on together, and to take some risks and to push forward to try new things.
It's a compelling idea for what work could and should be, I think.
Well, it has to be, and you know why, Chris?
Why is that?
Life's short.
Yeah.
We
spend a lot of time working as well.
Life is so short. And this is how I make my own personal decisions on which adventure to embrace. Will I have regrets if I don't choose this? So life is short. Actually, probably, do I want to be here? And will I have a regret if I don't choose it? When I left both those jobs, I'd already realised, in one case, I don't want to be here anymore. But the other, it's like, if I work for this organisation forever, I'll just become one of those people. And they're fine, but
not who you want to be.
That's one-dimensional to me. So I embrace those inner feelings. And I do think that the decision-making around which work adventures to choose should be grounded in what's going on inside of you, not necessarily just on the facts.
And when do you know when to listen to that inner feeling? Because like you said, sometimes it's a year of consolidation. Sometimes individually, you need to not go on a too risky an adventure.
What do you think? You've had quite a few exciting twists and turns to your career. How do you know when to say yes to an adventure, a calling?
I think I've probably learnt to go with adventures more. We talked about going with on the podcast before. I think I've learnt that. I think naturally I'm not a risk taker.
Really?
I'm not too much of an adventurer. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I think it's
a
bit of a learnt behaviour and a bit of borrowing from other people and seeing the kind of adventures and the narrative that we have here of adventure and work being an adventure, and then what you described in terms of people being encouraged, empowered to go on those adventures maybe just before they're ready. And I've embraced that. I think there's a thrill to going on that adventure. Like you said, can I do this? I feel equipped. I'm ready to go, but will I achieve it?
Yeah.
Will I make it?
You like that feeling?
I like that feeling.
Yeah, me too.
Riding that wave.
Yeah. And I like the ambiguity about the destination.
Yeah.
I know this is also part of my personality type.
Yeah.
Again, people will ask me, what's your vision? I don't really know. I just want to keep adventuring together. I want this group of people, and some will come and go, but let's have this team spirit and then see where it can take us.
Yeah.
And I think, again, the strategy is important in a company, but momentum is also really important. And if you can get the right adventures to happen, that's where you're taking your team and you're setting out challenges in front of them.
And I think coming back to what I was asking there about when do you know when to listen? I think when other people are encouraging and empowering you to go on that adventure, that's helpful. If that aligns with the inner voice of saying, go on, go for it.
Yeah.
That's where something clicks, I think, for me. Is that it's not just me.
Other
I'm getting
people.
these external empowering voices as well.
Yeah, there's a brilliant book
Some
actually
alignment.
called The Hero's Journey. I
Mm.
don't know if you read that.
No.
No, but it maps out the cycle of life.
Right.
You know, you receive a calling. Do you respond to the calling or not to go on the adventure? You might like Bilbo Baggins and you know,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, but you receive a calling.
Yeah.
Do you
It's a classic
accept
quest
or decline the
narrative.
quest?
Yeah.
Then if you choose to go on the quest, things happen to you, like a mentor needs to appear. But also, there's also like an archetype thing. You have to drink a magic potion, for example, or have a spell. Like, but basically, these are what life is like. And I think that's what when I'm trying to work through my decision making about what to do, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, firstly, like, is this a good thing? Is it going to stretch me? Is it challenging? But also, is it the moment? Should I accept or decline? And I do think in the grander scheme of life, I've got kids. I've got a family. I've got a mortgage. So that's got to be part of the equation. I know some people who decline so many adventures because they've got a mortgage. And that is a real shame in a way, because life is so short. We're here for a few scant years, and I want to quite greedily pack my life with not the same year every year, but a different year every year of new things that have been challenging, successes and failures. Not too many failures, but enough that the good times then feel really, really good.
And we need those failures as well, in a way, to know when we're adventuring too far, too hard.
Yeah, maybe we're not really stretching ourselves unless we have some element of failure.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I really believe in failure, Chris.
Do you not?
Yeah, I think there's no such thing as failure, only feedback.
Right.
So if you don't get what you were hoping for,
something didn't work out.
that's just feedback.
Right.
Adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if you've got your adventure set out as success or failure, then you've got to take these knocks. I genuinely do believe that when things don't work out as you'd hoped, it's just feedback on where you're at. And it doesn't mean you haven't achieved your goal. It doesn't mean you won't achieve it. Or it could be that you no longer want to achieve it. Try something else.
And you've built IW, a small company, but a successful one from scratch. That must have been quite an adventure.
Yeah, I think the longer this has been going on, the more realization of how big a part of my life it is and how hard we've worked. I don't feel I worked that hard, but I have worked at this for a long time. And I guess the different steps in our company life have been fascinating to me. It was just me. Then it was me and Andy. Then a few more friends. Then, we decide to hire some more senior people. So it's a few friends and some senior people. Then we decide to get an office and get junior staff. Then we decide to go to America. These are like exciting parts. But I was listening to Edwin van der Sar on the High Performance podcast, and he was saying also, just you kind of forget how much pressure it is. And I'm kind of don't feel the pressure, but I know that it's there. I know that every day I wake up, there's an organization to run, there's a P&L to run, there's clients, projects to make sure happen. I know we've got very, very good people, but as like the captain of the ship, I'm not rowing the oars, I'm not trimming the sails, I'm not navigating, I'm not doing all the stuff, but someone's got to be there to make sure. I'm not even navigating to the destination. Someone's got to be there to make sure that everything goes okay. And I guess that is a bit like a cross-channel ferry, Chris. That's a bit of a responsibility sometimes.
Yeah.
Lower that bow door for the cars to get on and off, and it all seems quite easy, but if you get it wrong, it's really life-threatening.
And what do we need for a good adventure? Do we need to be equipped with certain things to be able to survive the adventure, thrive on the adventure?
We need less than we think.
Okay.
I think, number one, good companions. Human beings, not designed to be alone. So who are you on the adventure with? Again, think about your manager. If you think about the worst possible situation at work, is it a bad manager?
No.
No?
Probably not.
I think it is.
Do you think it is?
I think so, yeah. Manager who doesn't get you, doesn't support you.
Yeah,
I think there's worse
not
than
many things more difficult. Yeah.
But there might be more difficult episodes, but ongoingly, if you've not got the great manager.
Yeah.
But so if we've got somebody that supports us and is that mentor figure and good teammates. And then I guess one other question to think about is it your adventure or is it someone else's? And I think a lot of people are on someone else's adventure. And
is that a problem? Is that okay?
I think it can be a problem actually, yeah. I want to find out the adventure of each of the team. Imagine you're climbing a mountain, but only one person's really wants to get there and everyone else is just there for the ride. Or just there because they think they have to be.
Right. So not a pleasant experience by the sound of it.
What's going to happen when things get tough? Probably we should go back down.
Yeah, people give up.
So I do think that part of the art of leadership is to set up everyone and work with everyone to work out what they want. Actually, I ask most people this on day one. What's the work adventure that you want to have here? And to try and find out what their aspirations are. And it's ridiculous what some of them are. Like, some of them just want to have a family. Some of them want to become famous. Some, want to do challenging work. Some want to win big deals. I mean, there's every kind of job to do, isn't there? So some people want to help people. Some people want to be really good at that. Some people not so much. So there's trying to connect up the various motivations of the team members. And you're saying adventure, but I guess that's because how we frame it is to try and think of it as a journey, an adventure.
Could be
ups and downs.
An assignment or a goal.
Yeah.
A calling.
It could be that, yeah. And I think it does matter. I think if you're sharing someone else's adventure, it's great, but it will only ever be in black and white.
Yeah.
And really, if it's your own adventure, it's full colour.
Yeah. And we've got to find that, and we can tap into the adventures of others as a motivator.
Definitely.
What do we do if work doesn't feel like an adventure? If we're just an individual, our organisation hasn't created a culture where we feel like we're adventuring, the wrong level of challenge maybe. What can we do?
Well, this is a podcast not just for work, but also life. And I do think that in the grand scheme of things, your work adventure should be considered amongst all the elements of life. For example, it's absolutely okay to not be fulfilled at work for a period of time, for a phase. Let's say your other half is on a big work adventure, and this happens a lot, doesn't it? Someone's turn, they do their thing, then it's your turn, you do yours, then it's their turn again. One of my cycle buddies took 3 years off. It was his other half's turn. She had the big thing going on, needed to be around.
Yeah.
Then they switched over.
Right.
So I do think you should consider that. You consider your health, your motivation, your bank balance has a big impact on what risks you're prepared to take. So I think all those things need to be considered holistically. But yet, probably only a few times in life should you disregard all those and just go for it. I think people would say I'm a just go for it guy, but I don't really just go for it. I think
no, it's measured, logical a lot of the time.
I think there are some just go for it people, and their life may be a bit chaotic because they just keep going for things. So I do think that you should weigh carefully whether it's time for a big career move, time for a promotion.
Right.
Sometimes when I'm coaching people, say, I think I should get the promotion. Just run through whether you think it's really good for you right now to get a promotion and have a bigger job. Where are you at with family life, health? Are you doing a good job? Are you enjoying it? Where are you at with your peers? Sometimes it is, and sometimes you should take it even though it isn't. But in general, to try to consider the whole picture and think whether this is the moment to set out.
So we've got to consider maybe actually it's not the time for adventure, and that's okay for a time. And then other times we can look at some of those external factors and see if there's something we can push into.
Yeah,
because of or despite those.
Especially, the other thing why it's so important is if you've got, if you don't consider the whole picture, then you may face trade-offs where, let's say you've got a young family and your adventure is work travel and you've got a big job to do. There's a complete trade-off. Give it a couple of years, 3 years, 5 years. You could probably take your kids with you and go and live abroad and do your work thing there. That'd be great. But there's certain moments where it may work against you if you're suddenly away from home for a long period of time, or if you took a really stressful job, or if you retrained or tried something new or whatever. So yeah, I do think it's important to kind of think about that. However, if you can get those things aligned, then one is going to supercharge the other. If, for example, you were able to move overseas and take your family with you, that could help you to supercharge that adventure because everything's now integrated and aligned. It's all pushing in the same direction.
Yeah, and I had the opportunity last year to go to New York.
You did?
Travel.
How did you feel, though, stepping on a plane to go and live in a different country for a number of months, try and start a new office in a new country?
It felt really strange because it was following that idea of this is the adventure, this is my next level of stretch, but also meant leaving wife and baby behind for at least a month in one go, which, wasn't easy to do. Yeah. And I think I had that, what I described, that inner sense of, I need to do this. And the conversations with my wife were similar. It's like, we might regret if I don't do this. Yeah. Or she'd never hear the end of it, at least.
Yeah.
That if I didn't do it. And so I there was a sense of having to do it, and other people saying, this is good, go for it.
Go for it. So you got that reinforcement from others.
Got that reinforcement from others.
And do you feel it's like a physical adventure, or is it really just an inner journey? Because I think you could look at it like that as well.
Yeah. A lot of it is inner journey, isn't it? It's that feeling of, can I do it? What does success look like? Is this okay for my family? Are they okay? You know, what are they thinking and how are they doing? So yeah, a lot of it is just getting over your own preconceptions, doubts.
How do you get over your doubts, Chris? When an adventure's on the horizon and you're thinking, not sure, how do you embrace it?
I don't think I doubt very much, to be honest. I don't worry very much.
You don't worry?
No, don't worry. I don't worry.
So how do you embrace an adventure?
I think get equipped. Not just equipped, but we talked about the mountain kind of thing. You need to be equipped with the right tools to get up the mountain. So you need all the resources to do what you need to do in order to achieve, get to your destination, whatever it is. But I think also you need that inner fire, that igniting to be motivated, like you described in that team going up the mountain. Do you actually want to get there? Yeah. Are you just trying to psych yourself up into doing this because you think it's the right thing to do, or your next step? Or are you actually
really excited?
Really excited?
Yeah.
Would it be a dream of yours to achieve this, to journey this adventure?
That's actually really key, isn't it? Which is the emotions that are at play. And we've talked a lot about the emotions of others, but in this case, it's actually our own emotion. We talked in other podcasts about empathy and the skill of that.
Stepping into the shoes.
But this is really, this topic is really what's going to fire you, what's going to float your boat. Where are you at? Are you ready? Can you step into it? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel capable? Do you feel like the active agent in the story? Do you feel like you can risk it? Do you feel you can deal with it if it goes wrong? Yeah. I think I spend a lot of time also thinking about, can I handle it if this doesn't work? I can, Chris. I don't really mind.
So maybe think about the future you. That person's perspective. Actually, I saw an Instagram post recently, one of those kind of like motivational style Instagram posts, but there was a little nugget in there that I found really useful, which was it was encouraging you to think, what would your 7-year-old self and your 77-year-old self think of the decision you're going to make, the adventure you're about to go on? And I think coming back to that New York trip last year, 7-year-old me would have been like, oh, you're going to New York? That's really exciting. Yeah. You're seeing a new place. Cool. That's really cool. 77-year-old me would be like, that was one of the best decisions you made in your career. Yeah. Well done. And so I got confirmation from my past and future selves on that decision.
That's great. And I imagine 77-year-old Chris doesn't look much more different than you look now.
A few grey hairs.
If we could only get Andy McConkie on the podcast, you'd have exactly the same quiff. Just greyer.
Yeah.
So you're talking about that live context, aren't you? The 77 wisdom, the 7 exuberance, childlike joy.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe a bit of the emotion, a bit of the logic. Does it all stack up?
Yeah. Should we talk about what happens to us when it goes wrong then? Because we can take adventures. I remember, so my lowest work point, the whole of my work, I found myself in a hospital in Brazil thinking I might be having a heart attack. Wired up to a cardiogram, alone, because I was working there on my own. And I'd overstretched on venture. And
there's setbacks, aren't there, on ventures?
Yeah. I don't know if it was a setback. I think it was like a wake-up call.
Right, okay.
Because we'd grown our company and I'd said, every time, when it was small, I used to say to people, come and work for me. I can handle the responsibility. you just come and work here. Be safe.
You'll be fine.
Yeah, you'll be fine. And I was like the protector. And when it got to a certain size, I couldn't be the protector anymore.
Right.
Because it was so big.
You were crossing the threshold of that.
I was over the threshold of what responsibility one person can take.
Yeah.
I still don't really know what happened. I know that I had a bad back at the time. I wasn't really working out, so I wasn't getting my stress cortisols out. I also had a tricky work project. And then I was also jet lag. I was laying awake in a hotel thinking, I can't sleep here, and I didn't sleep. And then, after a couple of nights of not sleeping, I was feeling really unwell. I started having chest pains. I thought, I could die in this hotel room by myself. I need to call for a doctor. So I called reception. They didn't speak English. And I couldn't get a doctor. And in the end, someone who from the program I was running took me to hospital, got my heart checked out. They said I was okay. They said, are you under quite a bit of pressure at the moment? And I realised basically that I'd taken on more than one person should have on their responsibility load. And the human body just isn't able to deal with that.
No.
Yeah. And so I came home from that trip and I said to all the directors here, I said, look, I'm really sorry. I've realised I've been telling you that I can handle all this, but I can't. We've got to carry this together. And Karen, our non-exec, was really also good on helping me work through exactly what to do and what to say. And Steph, my wife, was really good. She was really good at knowing what to do and what to say. For example, because I had been given some sleeping pills, and she said, yeah, you're home now, you don't need those. And I said, well, I've not been able to sleep for quite a few nights. So she said, no, you can just throw those away. If you can't sleep here, that's fine, because you're not got to do anything tomorrow, and you go to work, and I'm here. So not sleep as long as you like, you'll be fine.
It's true.
But those two people helped me think through. And so I guess if we embrace an adventure-seeking part of our lives, we may also run into trouble. And at that point, it's really about who we've got around us. And those people are the ones that care more about us than the work, and care more about us as a person than our job performance. So it can and should be a manager, but also networks outside of work and real friends and family that can really help you. If you're going to embrace work adventures, you need to have that backup team just in case you get yourself in over your head like I did, Chris.
Yeah, it shows the value, doesn't it, of having those people around you on the adventure together. You need them in the dark times. Also brilliant to have people around you in the good times as well. On the peaks of the adventure.
They're the happiest for you when things go well.
Yeah, exactly.
If you could travel anywhere on Earth for an adventure, would you cross Antarctica or go to the depths of the ocean or go to the summit of Everest? Or
I want to go beyond Earth. I want to go to space.
To go to space?
Yeah, I want to go to space.
Why is that?
The sense of adventure. The idea that only a select number of people will be able to do that.
And if you were to take
incredible.
that same spirit and apply it to your work,
yeah,
what would give you that same feeling in your employment? If you were one of the few people that could get out there and you're effectively in space in your workland.
So what kind of things would that
I'm
be
doing
the
a bit,
equivalent?
just for the viewers, I'm just doing a bit of coaching.
It's a bit of coaching.
Yeah,
I
unlock
like
a little adventure.
I like it. What would be the equivalent of traveling space for my work? I suppose coming up with an idea that we haven't done before. So staying on Earth would be doing the kind of things that we've done before brilliantly again, but the equivalent would be a new idea, something that's come from me maybe.
So an out of this world idea.
An out of this world idea.
If only there was an expression that we could capture that gave the sense to this feeling of being out of this world.
If only I could describe that in a short phrase.
A pithy phrase like something like a feeling of being in space.
Interstellar idea.
Interstellar idea.
Yeah, an interstellar idea, yeah.
So you'd like to do something out of this world in your work. I guess that's going beyond your imagination, beyond your expectations, and also something that other people can truly recognise that you've done.
Yeah, and something maybe other people can't do or won't do.
Something that others can't or won't do. This is great. Chris, I want to come back to this topic. Can we record a podcast in 12 months' time?
Yeah, let's do that.
Because I think we should put that on the clock. As you mentioned, time is ticking in life. Alan C. Bluedorn wrote the most brilliant book, The Human Organization of Time. But he said that effectively humans create time as their own reality. But I do believe that time is short. Goals are a dream with a deadline. I think we should come back in 12 months and we should find out what you've made happen that no one else could do.
See what adventures I've been on.
That no one else came up with.
And the adventures you've been on as well.
Let's come back and see, shall we?
Let's do that. All right. We should wrap up our podcast. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about how interactive workshops are equipping and igniting individuals, teams, leaders for the world of work.
The world of work is brilliant, and thriving in the world of work means capabilities and motivation. If you have the skills and the desire, you can go beyond your wildest dreams. So our company works with teams, individuals and leaders in some of the most incredible organizations. We may have discussions exactly like we've had today. What is the adventure that you want from your work? I'm actually thinking of the grads at Airbus that we were with a few months ago at the start of their career. What do you want to do then? Where do you want to go? It's all within your hands. These crazy organizations, it's malleable. You can dictate where you want to travel and what you want to do if you really go for it. So what do you want to do? What would a brilliant career look like for you? What would a great team look like? What do you want to achieve? Now, is that really challenging? If you push yourself, could you go even further? So we work with so many organizations, helping them to think through this on a human level. And I guess also partly me on a senior level. I love working with boards and senior teams to firstly flesh that out, but then put in place the process to deliver it. And that is the critical path of a work adventure, thinking through that sequence of steps, and for me, the intensity with which you will work to achieve them. So it's whether from the boardroom to the broom cupboard, it doesn't matter who you are, but should work be challenging? Yes. Can you yourself guide the story? Yes. So what can we do to support you and make it happen? I guess that's part of the spirit of interactive workshops.
Brilliant. So if you want to come on the adventure, join us.
Yeah, there's an empty seat on our podcast table for someone who'd like to come on this adventure.
Absolutely, yeah. If you want to adventure with us on the podcast, get in touch. We'd love that. And you can subscribe to Sparks anywhere you get your podcasts. We love getting reviews as well. That always helps. We read those comments.
And if we get 2 comments, next week I'll wear a hat.
There we go. Review or reply, whatever is down below or around where you're viewing this podcast. We'll see Jonna in a hat next week.
I've got a good one.
Thank you, Jonna, for joining me.
Thanks, Chris.
It's been great. Thanks for watching this video by Interactive Workshops. Give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Click through to here or here to watch another video by Interactive Workshops.